one, I thought I would make a video about the books that I have been reading for fun lately. And I have to clarify that these are the ones I've been reading for fun, not for school. Those ones you probably wouldn't want to hear about. But the things that I have been reading for fun ended up being pretty good. At my school, we implemented this program this year where for the first 20 minutes after lunch, everybody reads. So the office staff reads, the teachers read, the students read, and we just all get a chance to sit down, relax, not have any distractions, and read a book for 20 minutes. So it kind of gives you enough time to get into the story and just relax a little bit, and makes me look forward to going back to class after lunch a little bit more than usual. So I just read a couple books in that 20-minute period. Usually at home I just have to read stuff for school. So, you know, just for that 20 minutes a day, you know, even 5 days a week, you're able to get through quite a few books. So I just wanted to do a quick review of the ones that I read this fall. So I have them written down in my planner here. The first one that I read was An Abundance of Katherines by John Green. I like to just kind of read the young adult books that my students are liking so that I can, for one, like get a copy and then put it in my bookshelf so that my students, you know, have access to them. And they're a little bit young. I have middle schoolers. I think John Green books are probably more appropriate for high schoolers than middle school, but you know, some of them are a little more mature and they like to read those. So An Abundance of Katherines is about this kid named Colin, and he is a prodigy, and he graduates from high school and his girlfriend Catherine breaks up with him, and he only dates girls named Catherine. And so he's really depressed. I think he's dated 19 Catherines at this point. And he goes on a road trip with his friend, and they end up in this small southern town and have an adventure. It's kind of a coming of age story. He is trying to decide who he is now that, you know, he's not like this super smart high schooler anymore. What does he want to do? His friend has a similar journey. So it's good. It's funny. It makes you want to anagram everything because Colin anagrams everything. And it's just, it's enjoyable. I really liked it a lot. All of John Green's books are enjoyable and funny, and they always just have kind of this extra element of, you know, quotes or anagrams or something like that, where you always learn something new from his books too. So I liked An Abundance of Katherines. Then I read another John Green book. I read Paper Towns, and I think Paper Towns might be my favorite John Green book. I really liked it. It's kind of different. It's another kind of misfit, smart boy, and his neighbor is this girl named Margot, and I still feel like I don't really know Margot. They're gonna make a movie of Paper Towns soon, so I'm excited to see how they play Margot. It's gonna be that girl, what's her name, Kara, something with a D, I forget her last name, but she has like real thick eyebrows, she's a model. And so she's gonna play Margot. And I'm excited to see how she does it, because Margot is really elusive. Like, she's popular, but she's kind of disillusioned with popularity, and she likes to pull elaborate pranks and go on adventures, and she's not like anybody that you really know in real life, so she's not that relatable, but there's something about her that makes you want to keep reading. So I really enjoyed the book, and it's one of his more odd books. I don't think it's as realistic as some of his other stuff, but yeah, I want to see the movie now that I've read it. The next book I read is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And I really enjoyed this book as well. It's also kind of a young adult, like high school age probably, book. And it's about this family, the Sinclairs, and they're very rich. Like, so rich that they have their own island. And on the island, they each have their own house even. So the main character and the narrator, her name is Cadence, and her mom and her two aunts have homes on the island, and then her grandparents have a home as well. But something happened, and you don't really know what. There was an accident, and no one will really talk about it, and Cadence like hit her head or drowned or something. You don't really know, and she doesn't really know, and she can't remember. And so her whole world is kind of in this dream-like, surreal atmosphere, and so is the book. So that's one thing I really enjoy about reading fiction and reading novels, I kind of forgot about, is that, you know, they can transport you into this mindset and into this whole new atmosphere. And so if you like, you know, kind of this, I guess you would say dreamlike, maybe that's the only way to put it, type of book. It reminds me a little bit of like the Virgin Suicides, where you just don't really understand what's going on, but the language is beautiful. There's a lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphor, and it does kind of speak to this bigger theme of wealth and greed and how it affects families and how it affects the next generation. So I would recommend it. It's good. One of my students has it. I can't find it anymore. Then the next book I read was A Perfect Match by Jodi Picoult, and I just found it like in the teacher's lounge and picked it up. I needed another book to read, and it's pretty good. It's like a mystery, but a really emotional mystery. So the main character is Nina Frost, and she is an attorney, and she tends to deal with kids who've like been abused, and she has to prep them to take the stand. And then something happens to her son, and she's got to figure out how to deal with it. So it's one of those books where like so much happens in the first scene that you're like, where else can this book go? We already know everything that happened, but you don't. You know, more twists and turns take place afterwards. So it's a mystery, yes, but then it also kind of takes you through like this mother's struggle with like, how can I protect my son? Did I do my job? What should be important to me? And it's good. I don't know if that's like my favorite type of book, but it was really interesting. It kept me turning the pages, and I enjoyed reading it. The next book that I read was my favorite so far of everything that I've read. It's called The Paris Wife by, who's it again? Paula McLean. And it's just the perfect book for me because it's historical fiction, but it's a novel at the same time, you know, and so it's about the time after World War I, and I just love reading about like the lost generation. And even though I didn't really enjoy Ernest Hemingway as a high schooler, I really loved reading about his life through the lens of his wife, and that's what this book is. And so they moved to Paris, so A Paris Wife, and it talks about Paris during those years after the war and all of the other writers, Gertrude Stein and F. Scott Fitzgerald, all these other artists and writers that were friends with Ernest Hemingway, and it just gives you kind of a glimpse into what it would have been like to have been married to one of these like genius but troubled artist type guys. And it was fascinating. It's based in a lot of research. It's actually written by an English teacher, and then she stopped teaching for a while to write this book. It's great, and I just love the time period. I loved learning more about Ernest Hemingway and all these artists, so I would highly recommend that if you are into kind of lost generation type art or literature. And even if you didn't like Ernest Hemingway like me, he was really interesting. Now actually I want to read more of his books, so now I think I'm going to go pick up a few of the things that I got to kind of get a peek behind the scenes at as he wrote them, you know, through this story. And some of it I'm sure is fictionalized, but I feel like it's a fairly well, she bases it on documents and on letters and things like that. So, you know, I feel like you get a pretty true picture of what was going on in Ernest Hemingway's life. And then the last book that I recently read was Girl Online by Zoe Sugg. And so this one, definitely I just got it so that I could read it real quick and then give it to my students and put it on the shelf. It's by another YouTuber named Zoella. I love her. She's so cute. And she writes this book about, it's like semi-autobiographical. So it's about a girl who's kind of a mess in real life. She just feels like she's awkward. She doesn't really have friends. She's not having luck with boys, but she goes online and starts a blog, and people really relate to her. And then she gets this opportunity to go to New York with her parents, and she meets a boy. And I mean, it's a little bit typical, but towards the end, like, I was getting so sucked in. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe her friend just did that to her. What a jerk. Oh my goodness. And like, oh, he doesn't understand. No, you have to explain it to him. So I got really into it. Like the bell would ring to stop the 20 minutes, and I was like, no, I just need to read one more chapter. I have to know what happens to her. I was like so concerned for this main character. So it's kind of cheesy, but like you'll get sucked into it. I'm sure she had a ghostwriter, but whatever. It's interesting, and I just wanted to like see what Zoella did as she branched out into writing. So those are the books that I read during the fall semester. At the end of the spring semester, I'll come back with another review. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them, or if you have some suggestions for me, because I do need to start picking up some new ones, then let me know. Right now, I'm in the middle of The Virgin Suicides, and I'm loving it. I loved the movie, but I'm liking the book even more. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.